Everyone, we're here for another quick conversation for the long haul of leadership with Todd Bolsinger. And we're looking at a quote from Dwight Gibson. This is all the way back from episode 25, titled Organizational Change and the Way of Exploration. Here's the quote. Dwight Gibson said, "As people of faith, I would like to believe we have a greater capacity for exploration because we do recognize there is something beyond ourselves. As people of faith," he says, "I would like to believe we have a greater capacity for exploration because we do recognize there is something beyond ourselves." Okay, so Todd, you wrote all about Lewis and Clark, canoeing the mountains. Exploration is kind of a part of all of that. And so I imagine you're all on board with this particular statement. What do you think?
Oh man, so the whole idea of exploration is just central to my understanding. Like I often say, we have to adventure or die. But what he said is, I would like to believe, right? I would like to believe the church would be. And, Marcus, you and I are really aware of the fact that right now the church is not very open to exploration. Like most of the church is pretty fearful. And oftentimes we're looking to go back. I mean, the church is caught. We're not exploring uncharted territory. We're trying to fight hard for the old territory. And we're in this kind of crisis at the moment. And, one of the reasons, I think Dwight Gibson and you and I we're sitting here together over coffee, we would all be talking about the fact that theologically, we believe this is true. Right? Yeah. We want to give ourselves to something bigger than ourselves. And we believe in the God who owns the future and knows the future. And why so often is the church so resistant to change, to exploration, to openness? We tend to fight for the status quo and we want to go back. We want to go back. We want to keep paddling canoes when we're facing mountains.
Well, and why is that? Like, why are we afraid to explore? What is it that's holding us back?
Well, the thing this is one of the reasons why obviously the Church Leadership Institute exists and the work we do. It's because we have to actually teach people how to go off the map. You've got to actually form them for the future. It's not enough just to say we should be, or I would like to believe. We actually have to help them become people who can learn how to drop the canoes and keep going, exploring in the mountains. We need to help them not to rely on their old best practices. It's hard. And one of the things I often say is, just to remember that the root word for familiar and family are the same root word. I would say this, that, if you're in an unfamiliar place, like you're exploring, you actually feel unfamilied. Most of us feel pretty abandoned or lost or orphaned. So we get really anxious. And what we need is to have groups of people accompany us. We need mentors, and we need to learn. We need to learn how to become explorers. We need to learn I would say Christians need to learn to live into their identity as the people who believe that the God is leading us into the future.
Yeah. And so there is a connection between our faith and hopefully our capacity to explore. But I don't know if I want to go into all the reasons we doubt or are afraid that God isn't with us. I don't know if that plays a part in it for you or not. But what's the role of faith in exploration? I mean, in trusting God, in believing that God is with us.
Well, I think absolutely our faith calls us, right? Just think about Jesus, when Jesus calls us to follow. To be a Christian literally means to take up your cross and follow Jesus, to let go of things, to leave the nets in the boat and to follow Jesus. It is absolutely about exploring and taking risks. The problem is that most of our structures and our church structures kind of teach that out of us. And especially when we have been in environments where we believe the church's job is to protect the status quo in the culture. Then pretty soon, after a while, we're not explorers. We're the people who are trying to, rebuild the old fort and hold on to our power and our privilege and our place in the culture. And so we don't explore. We talk about this, a leadership adaptive leadership that is exploring, starts in learning. You have to be able to say, I don't know. which is a kind of humility. And then it requires loss. You're going to have to let some things go.
Right.
You're going to have to drop those canoes if you want to adventure into the mountains.
Right.
And most of us cling to what we know. We cling to the past.
And forget maybe that God says, it's okay. I'm still with you, right? Even when you're letting go, when you're dropping the canoes.
Drop the nets. Deny your go ahead. Keep going.
Right.
Just follow me. Yeah.
That's right. Amen. Yeah. Amen. Here's the quote one more time from Dwight Gibson, episode 25. He says, as people of faith, I would like to believe we have a greater capacity for exploration because we do recognize there is something beyond ourselves.